A bike is composed of many interconnected systems. Pedal, chain, and gear systems all work together to move the wheel of a bike. When these elements work in balance, both the bike and the rider can stay on track. In the same way, in our world, when natural and human systems are in harmony, people and nature thrive. The same rivers that are home to salmon provide the energy that power the lights in our schools. The wood we use to build our homes comes from the forests that are a key part of our natural landscape. We live in an interconnected world where ideally, things stay in balance between people and nature. This is especially true in the Pacific Northwest, where bustling cities bursting with healthy industry, historic towns blessed with rich traditions, and major roadways that serve millions of people exist side by side with thriving forests, pristine lakes and waterways, and majestic peaks. Many small systems in our natural landscapes come together to make up increasingly bigger systems, which ultimately connect with our urban environment in a multitude of ways. When these interconnected systems are healthy, everyone benefits. When they get out of balance, however, we all suffer. Where the natural and built worlds intersect, the balance sometimes gets disrupted. This is usually because of changes humans have made in the natural world. When this happens, nature alone can't always make things right. People need to get involved. Picking up trash is an obvious thing, but what else can we do? And once a healthy balance is restored, what can we do to ensure that it continues? To answer these questions, we need to look at the role of our connected natural landscapes, also called greenways, in the interplay between people and nature. We also need to look at how our own actions, both at home and out in nature, affect the dynamic balance between the built and natural worlds. So what exactly is a greenway?
I think of the Greenway as a home to like plants and animals.
Animals and plants need to live here.
You can watch them in their usual habitat, and if possibly they're ignoring you, so you can watch them and you can learn so much about them that you didn't know before.
There's plenty of things to do here because it's just one wide open area of amazing plants and animals.
And what I think of the Greenway is like a really natural environment home for all animals. And if I was an animal like a bear, I would totally live here and bring my cubs here because it's like really nice here.
And when I think of the Greenway, I think of like nature and like all the like slugs, snails.
There's cities and there's lakes and there's forests and there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. It's just beautiful and amazing, and there's lots of animals and trees, and you can learn a lot.
In its simplest form, greenways connect people and places, and there are hundreds of cities around the world that have greenways, and they vary greatly. Some greenways also have recreation abilities. They have trails that are for bikers and hikers. Some provide habitat for wildlife as well as clean air and clean water. Most are in cities, and some connect cities to rural areas, and they make people feel peaceful because they bring the natural world to their home, and they can also provide a sense of place and community. The Mountains of Sound Greenway is all of that and more. One thing that makes our Greenway so special is that it's really large, one of the largest in the country. It's 1.5 million acres. It starts in Seattle. It goes across I-90 through Snoqualmie Pass to Ellensburg. It includes rivers, lakes, public land, which includes mountains, forests, grasslands. It includes private rural lands, preserved private lands and forests. It also includes cities and urban growth areas, as well as 1,600 miles of trails. The Mountains of Sound Greenway is bounded by large watersheds on both the north and the south. On the south by the Cedar River watershed, and on the north by multiple watersheds.
The beauty that we see along the I-90 corridor as we drive from Seattle to Ellensburg didn't happen by accident. 1.8 million people live in the Greenway. This number continues to grow as people from across the country and the world are attracted to the area. They come both for the natural beauty and for job opportunities with companies that are based here. As the population in the Pacific Northwest grew rapidly in the 1900s, it put pressure on the landscape. The natural environment was beginning to show the strain. The lakes became more polluted, forests were overlogged, scarring the landscape, and communities expanded into natural landscape areas, encroaching on wildlife habitats. Trail systems, where hikers were once able to walk uninterrupted by new development over long distances, were becoming more and more scarce.
The Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust got its start about 20 years ago when a group of hikers, people just like you and me, got together and looked around and saw everything that was so important about our area, the mountains and the grasslands and the forests and the rivers. And they said, we need to work together to figure out how we can preserve and conserve this area and grow in a way that helps to keep those things so special. And so they hiked, they started at Snoqualmie Pass and they hiked all the way to downtown Seattle to the Puget Sound to show, look at what we have. We have the ability to hike that whole way. And a year later, the Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust got its start. The trust is made up of a group of people from different backgrounds that come together, and they all represent different parts of our area. And they come together to make decisions that will last a really long time. So if you can imagine taking 2 classrooms of kids from your school and putting them in the same room and telling them that as a group they have to make a decision and they can't leave the room until they come to that decision. It's probably going to take a while and it's probably going to be pretty challenging. By going through that process, the decisions that are made are long-lasting and sustainable.
Population growth and the accompanying development were clearly hurting the natural environment. Thanks to the efforts of the Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust and other concerned parties, it is much better now. One way we can measure the difference we're making is to monitor the health of our local salmon runs.
Salmon are a really important species to the Pacific Northwest because they are an indicator species of an ecosystem's health. They're also called the cornerstone species, so if you have a really healthy salmon run in your streams, you also know that you have a healthy ecosystem. Salmon are a great reminder that the Greenway is also connected to other ecosystems around it. Salmon are dependent on Puget Sound or ocean ecosystems in the Pacific. The health of those ecosystems are very important to salmon survival.
The Greenway is a wonderful classroom for King County students because it's right in their backyard. It's wonderful access to a natural environment, lots of different kinds of ecosystems that include waterways and lakes and forests and mountains. It's really important for people to understand that the Greenway is a landscape of connected green spaces, as well as a group of people who work together to conserve and protect the natural landscape. We want students to understand that if you injure one part of the natural world, it affects everything else because everything is connected. There's a lot of different ways to become interested and to learn about the natural world in the Greenway, and one of those gateways is trees, one of those is water, one of those is wildlife, another would be land use issues, another would be biosolids. And using one of those themes as an entry point, we can help students understand the importance of creating a balance in the natural world with what people also need.
The business of logging has a long history in the Pacific Northwest. It's a good example of how we can actively balance the needs of people and nature. It drove economic growth in the early days of the region and continues to be a key player in the local economy. One role of the Greenway Trust has been to work with logging companies and communities to repair logged areas and help plan so that working forests can thrive in balance with built and natural areas.
Students and adults, chaperones and teachers who come out on the Greenway education program love to learn about all the different kinds of trees in the Greenway. Trees are essential to preserving our ecosystems. They are necessary for clean air, clean water, for wildlife habitat, they're homes for animals, and for recreation. I always ask students, where would they rather hike, in a parking lot or in a forest? For all of those reasons I just mentioned, trees are a great entry point to learning about the Greenway.
Sunlight comes down like Pac-Man. Energy coming down into the molecule of chlorophyll, and it mixes with carbon dioxide and water and makes two things, oxygen and sugar, to feed the tree.
This Greenway experience is a huge simulation for the class. Being out here really puts it all into perspective because we are able to actually, in some cases, touch, definitely smell, and look at a lot of the things that the students are not going to be able to get in the classroom through just spoken word and photographs.
So coming out here gives them a multi-sensory, in-depth understanding of what they've been studying. And, you know, as people that live in the Northwest, they need to be citizens of our environment.
What's all the things that you heard, you guys?
Birds.
What else? All different kinds of birds? What direction were they coming from? That-a-way, right?
We live in a world where everything is connected. Your actions in one system have a direct impact on other systems. The choices we make on a daily basis around simple tasks such as how much water we use or how we dispose of waste, even how we recycle different materials and how we reuse everyday things such as shopping bags, all have an effect on the health and balance of our ecosystem.
When you wash your hands, most people leave the faucet running, and using that, you're wasting it because you're not actually using that water right there.
If someone spills, they use rags to clean up instead of paper towels, so you can just reuse the rags.
It is important that we all continue to get smarter about the Greenway and learn about how it plays a part in our lives. The best way to do this is to spend time in it. You don't have to go very far to do this. Go for a hike in the mountains, take a bike ride in the countryside, or try rafting or fishing in a nearby river or lake. And don't forget to visit the Greenway in the winter to take advantage of all that snow the Northwest is famous for. You could also go to Mercer Slough or the aquarium to learn more about the water systems in the Greenway. And while you're out there, pay attention to what you see and look at how different elements fit together. And ask yourself what you can do to help maintain the balance between nature and people.
And for those who want to be more involved, consider volunteering with the Greenway Trust stewardship events. We have tree planting, or you can even get involved removing invasive plants.
I've been taking out a lot of hanging blackberry bushes and some English ivy I've found scattered across the ground. I love coming out and working in the Greenway. If I could do this every day, it'd be amazing.
We're lucky to have a high quality of life in the Pacific Northwest, and having healthy green spaces close to places where we live is a big part of it. We all need to work to take care of our precious green spaces. The best way to start doing this is to get out into the recreational areas of the Greenway with your friends and family and enjoy it. We all have a role to play in maintaining the balance that will ensure that these magical green spaces will be here to enjoy for generations to come.